Hello and welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, the elections are more than halfway over and the narratives are still there out there for us. By now, I think we've got a somewhat of a sense of the election. Or have we? Because the experts and whoever I talk to say this is one election that nobody is really willing to predict. As to how much will the BJP win? Will the Congress and the India Alliance give a surprise? What are the top narratives? There is no Modi wave. Is there a Modi fatigue? There is no anti-Modi sentiment also on the ground. So it becomes all the more difficult to predict. In fact, I have with me an analysis of the top themes of the Prime Minister Modi's speeches. He began from March 17 to April 5, that is just before the elections began. Spent an equal amount of time talking about Congress, corruption, and schemes and development. But from April 6 to April 20, he went on to talk about the Congress. Maximum speeches were on Congress and development and also about his schemes. But from April 21st onwards, till the current May 15th, the number of speeches attacking the Congress and bringing in the hints talking about his schemes and development. So it's interesting to see where the narrative has gone and where the election is. Joining me on the show is Suhel Seth. He is a political commentator, marketing maven and columnist. Shankkar Aiyar, author, political economist and a columnist and commentator. And Rasheed Kidwai, he's an author and commentator and columnist. Suhel, where is the election so far? You've been watching the trends and the narratives, and you're a man who markets narratives. So whose narrative is working, or is there a narrative?
I don't think there's any single narrative. The only narrative is despicable abuse being heaped on opponents by them on each other. The discourse has never been so reprehensible. There's anger. There's no issue. If you were to sit back, Priya, and ask yourself, why should I vote for a particular party? You won't have a single answer. So earlier, I used to say that in India, no one wins an election. People lose it. Today, I can't even say that because it's almost as if everyone is either a sacrificial lamb or an aggressive lion, but there's no mid path, A, B. There is no question to my mind, and I will put it out openly. Narendra Modi will be India's next prime minister. That's not the question. The question is, by how much? So will he be a weak prime minister or will he be a strong prime minister? If his margin of victory is reduced, he will be a weak prime minister and people will need to worry. I mean, worry means the opposition needs to worry. And my other point, Priya, very sadly, all of us on this panel would love for India to be a robust democracy. We would like to see a responsible opposition. We would also like to see a responsible ruling party. The tragedy is that they have crossed the line qua each other so far that there is no point of return to civility, return to unanimity, and return to consensus. So my worry is not about who will win the election. My worry is, how will this country run? Will it be my way or the highway? Or will the lines of polarity be so strong that people will say, we don't even care about you, we will do what we want? When arrogance gets infused into governance, then you need to worry.
Okay. Shankkar, your first take on where do you see the election heading? I know you don't like predictions, but a sense of, do you agree with Suhel that the question is how much, but Modi is coming back?
Well, I see it this way. The Congress has sort of learned the art of capturing mind space. But on the ground, whether they are capturing vote share is a big question. I would say go out, sort of stick my neck out and say probably the regional parties will do better than they did last time. The BJP is hurting in places, which is why the narrative stayed. If you look at the narrative, they had a perfect path in February. You had the Ram Temple, you had Viksit Bharat, you had Labhartis, the beneficiaries, the schemes, the selfie moments at Atal Setu and Vande Bharat and whatever, however happy people are with those things. And the middle class seems to be very thrilled with the stock market. Cut to May, and it seems like all hell is broken loose. And, we're talking about Mangal Sutra and Muslims and mutton, the Congress. So I think that I still feel the results should be closer to 2014 than to 2019. I think that what's happening is that the opposition has not carved a cohesive narrative, and chaos makes the idea of order seductive. So I think that will sort of sustain Modi's continuation. Everybody somehow or the other at the back of the head is holding on that there might be a surprise, and they follow the Satta Bazaar and the Mumbai Satta Bazaar and the Mumbai stock market. Everybody's sort of got their own numbers from 230 to 330, whatever. But I think this is a sad spectacle. If this was to be an election, we could have discussed better issues. I mean, nobody in the campaign is discussing the mess that primary education is, that higher education parents are paying 20 and 30 lakhs and their children are not getting even internships, forget placements, and the unemployment situation. So and there are global challenges. I mean, yesterday the NVIDIA chairman said how manufacturing is going to be driven by AI.
Rashid, what Shankkar said, to an extent, yes, but development takes you so far. So we can't also blame the politicians. It is emotion that wins elections. And so far, do you see, we've seen Prime Minister's emotional connect with the people, but do you see the emotional connect with any of the regions something different this time around?
Yeah, so Priya, I think it is going to be a 2024 is a watershed moment in Indian politics. If Mr. Modi gets a clear mandate and 300 par, 350 par and all, it is going, the BJP is there to stay. The opposition will get, so to say, destroyed. There will be disintegration of Congress, whatever is left over. Regional parties would be there, but regional parties would also be buying peace with Narendra Modi and BJP. But there is a huge but, and if Mr. Modi is under 300 and if Congress is, 75 par or, cross 100, then I think we are going to see a very interesting moment. Delhi will become a bazaar, and there will be going to be a lot of, buy and sale of your elected MPs or political parties, etc. and all, and they're going to be very unsavory. Priya, we must remember in Westminster model of parliamentary democracy, if incumbent prime minister fails to get a clear majority, that being 272, he should step down. That is a convention. That's the norm. When I say this, I know that it will not be practiced. So therefore, what I'm saying is, it's going both scenarios. We're going to see a very interesting thing. If Mr. Modi makes it in a grand style, typical to this thing, then of course we are going to see the opposition, sort of getting very subdued, and country going to have a lot of new laws, or are there going to be big changes the way elections are fought? One nation, one election. A lot of things are UCC. A lot of things will set in. But if it is going to be hung out, even if Mr. Modi manages to get a majority, he will lose that. Iqbal nahi hoga, that kind of authority, that moral authority, and he would himself, to be blamed, the kind of tactical mistakes he has made so far. We'll spell it out later in the discussion, but he has made a lot of tactical errors. I think that would cost him costly, and he may not get a clear majority on his own.
So Rashid is differing with, I think, both of you by saying he may not get a clear majority. Prime Minister to remain strong and not weak, for brand Modi to remain intact, what is the number? What is the number you're looking at for brand Modi to remain intact?
At least, as Shankkar said, closer to 2014 rather than 2019, to be realistic. Number one. Number two, let me tell you, Rashid is like a good erstwhile Congress person. They have a problem. They have a problem for every solution. You see, the thing is कि अभी देश में हो क्या रहा है? You have the supreme gigantic intellect of Rahul Gandhi pitted against the persuasive chameleon-like skills of the others. This is not an opposition that is united by any stretch. They actually have a visceral hatred for each other. They wouldn't even want to sup together if they had the option. They are here together, united by one common cause. And that cause is not India, it's hatred for Modi. So let's place facts as they are. These guys are united in their hatred for Narendra Modi, which also borders on the fearful. They are terrified of what Modi and Shah will do. Now, when do I get terrified? अगर मैंने कुछ गलत किया है, अगर मैंने कुछ गलत नहीं किया, तो मेरे को किसी के बाप का डर है नहीं. So obviously, there are skeletons in their cupboards. Number two, I'm talking as a person who's involved in the corporate world and as a person who travels. Last week, today we are on Monday, so last Friday or Thursday, in Hong Kong, there were three people from three diverse backgrounds, but at the top of their businesses, who all said, we hope Mr. Modi is going to be back. What do businesses look for? They look for stability. They do not look for deviant behavior. What was the deviant behavior in the Congress? No less by a guy who then became president of India, Pranab Mukherjee, who, by the way, was the one man who buggered India's investment climate when they did what they did with Vodafone and 22 other companies. Shankkar Aiyar. What happened with retrospective tax? It ruined the investment climate of India. Those guys gave us 2G, they gave us CWG, they gave us every scandal. In those days, scandal was linked to that Manmohan Singh government. What have we seen in the last 10 years? Has there been no corruption? Obviously not, this is. But why do we keep saying कि भाई Modi is clean? बाकी लोग भी ने तो corruption की, people like you and me. I mean, not you and me, but you know what I mean. So we want stability in this country if this country has to progress. There are two very critical issues which I want to park. Number one, this whole concept of community hatred has to stop. If it cannot stop from their own conscience, it has to stop legally. Courts must slam these people for inciting hatred for no rhyme or reason.
Yes.
The second is this concept of isko ban karo, ye khao, wo pehno. This nonsense also has to stop, because this is actually hurting the very idea of a
Couple of things which I wanted to ask you, Shankkar. But first of all, yes, I agree with Suhel to certain things, but something I disagree with his point about the fact that the Congress and the allies have are very uncomfortable with each other. I am seeing a very good chemistry between Rahul and Akhilesh. Congress has agreed to also sit back and not be the big brother and give seat sharing to the bigger share in terms of how the opposition alliance is working.
Yeah, the history of 2004 to 2014 shows that it's always going to be an uneasy alliance. I mean, the Congress was in partnership with the left, and they split after the nuclear deal. They fought in Bengal differently. They fought in Kerala differently. I mean, all those issues are going to. You're not going to ever get along with everybody. I mean, then they would all be the same party. I mean, three of the parties in the alliance are all former congressmen. I mean, Mamta. If you look at if you look at Sharad Pawar, these are all issues that are going on. So the chemistry of it is a different issue. What is concerning is that they should have come up with a common minimum program. They should have come up with some factor that would sort of assure investors, the corporate world, the economy, that they would be looked after. You cannot sort of threaten disruption. I mean, even the BJP is threatening disruption every day. I mean, there are all kinds of rumors going around. If Charso Par has been linked to changing the constitution, all of this is rather disconcerting for most people. I mean, the two things that Indians value most is liberty, their sense of pride in that they have a free will. And the entire Hindu system, the Indian culture, is basically a civil liberty system where, everybody gets to do it. So you can name your child whatever you want, you can bury, you can burn, you can sort of drop them in the river or whatever, mundan karo, nahi karo, Tuesday fast karo, nahi karo. All of these are civil liberties. Why are we telling people what to do? So this craving for homogeneity in a heterogeneous society, in a diverse society, is really concerning.
Okay, quickly before we take a break, one quick question to Shankkar also on the low voter turnout.
But Mumbai has always been low. Maharashtra has sort of been yo-yoing about up and down. The fact is that Mumbai sees democracy as a pay and plug-in system. You install the app, you get your work done, and then uninstall the app kind of democracy that they practice. I mean, I've always said that democracy is not a one-vote stand, that the more important thing is that you should practice. I mean, nobody's talking about the fact that none of the municipal corporations or municipalities in Maharashtra have had an election for the last 3 years. So who's talking about that? Bengaluru has no municipal corporation since the last 2 years. Nobody's talking. Those are issues also about democracy. So anybody who's talking about voter turnout should look at the quality of the campaign. What is the desire, that motivation, the incentive to go and vote? I mean, everybody should
Okay.
vote, but have the politicians helped the cause? I don't think so.
Rashid, you weren't differing with the others in terms of, I think both Suhel and Shankkar thought that, feel that the Modi is coming back. Numbers will differ. But you feel that the opposition has made a mark. And I am also seeing the crowds on the ground where Akhilesh and Rahul, the chemistry between the two. Suhel made a point saying that he's, he doesn't see the opposition really vibing well. They won't even have dinner together, I think he said. But they are sitting and campaigning together. Do you feel there's a difference this time around in the opposition chemistry?
And there will be, Priya, there will be dinner, and there will be, likes of like what happened last time, likes of Amar Singh, in the sense of unknown people who are not part of this India alliance coming and joining on the high table. So this is what is going to happen in the time to come. And there are two very quick points I want to make. There is a kind of fear mongering going on, as if, if the opposition comes to power, then there will not be economic stability. History vouches that whenever there was a coalition government, there was better economic management, whether it was a dream budget by P. Chidambaram during United Front government, or economic reforms during P.V. Narasimha Rao. Remember, that was also a coalition government, a minority government was in office. The Congress knows, how to govern the country, how to manage economy. They have a very proven track record, and they have a lot of bench strength to be doing it. So I think there is, there is nothing to worry on that count. In fact, anybody who has, 10 crores or more at present is a worried person, not the common man on the street, because they do not know how these markets are going to behave, etc. and all. I think opposition knows, and Priya, to answer your question, specific thing about the, opposition leaders coming together, I think it is a sort of, power that acts as a great, glue. And therefore, you see the Congress and DMK, who's the biggest, ally of Congress today is DMK. And you look back, what happened with the, Congress DMK ties. The government was, on the Jain Commission, Rajiv Gandhi assassination. Today is the day of Rajiv Gandhi assassination, May 21st. So, but, DMK is the biggest ally. So the BJP also knows how to, deal with allies and, not so like-minded parties. So I think it's not going to create a problem. In the opposition unity, just last thing, as the song goes, "To mere पैरों में घुंघरू बांध ले, फिर मेरी चाल देख ले." You will see this. India will gallop. As a nation, as an alliance.
Suhel will ask.
अब यही बाकी रह गया है. अब देश पे आप लोग घुंघरू पहनाओ और देश को नचाओ, और देश ऐसे ही नाचेगा जैसे गांधियों ने
नाचने वालों ने आजादी दिलाई थी. अब हीरा मंडी देखिए.
अरे हीरा मंडी आप छोड़ो भाई, हीरा मंडी अब ये देखो भाई, ये अब दे आर नाउ लिंकिंग इंडियाज डेमोक्रेसी टू अ तवायफ खाना, टू अ मुजरा. ये तो हाल है हमारे देश का. ये now let me counter what
value. No.
Now let me just counter what he has said. Do you think Narendra Modi is Atal Bihari Vajpayee? No. He's not built that way, and he shouldn't be built that way. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was done to death, poor chap, by those three women who were his allies, Mayawati, Jayalalitha, and Mamta Banerjee. They drove him insane, in addition to Advani driving him insane. So he had to handle internal politics and external rife. Number one. Number two, Modi is a very different kind of person. He's not a person who believes in allies. He's not a person who believes in consensus. And I totally agree with him. Consensus is when you decide what you want to have for lunch. Consensus is not when you want to run a country. Great leaders have never governed by consensus. Great leaders have governed through decisiveness. Great leaders have never bothered. No, great leaders have never bothered about what you and I feel. Great leaders have done what they believe is right. When George W. Bush, and later George W. Bush said, I'm talking about Bush 42, he says, I genuinely believe there were weapons of mass destruction. So my decision was based on that information. That information may have been incorrect in hindsight, but my decision was based on an ethical analysis of the WMDs that existed. Now you tell me, do we want a country which will be run by a ragtag alliance? Rahul Gandhi is the biggest threat to a stable India. And I'll tell you why. He is appealing to people in Lutyens, Delhi's libraries. He's not appealing to people who are actually earning a daily wage. You see his comments. This man's comments are irresponsible. His sister, who is far brighter and more astute, should be in power, but the mother's love for her son cannot be, negated by you and me, other than Rashid. Number 3, do you actually believe a Mamta Banerjee and Akhilesh Yadav, Stalin, and Rahul Gandhi can agree on anything? This is the same Rahul Gandhi and Akhilesh Yadav who fought over not being invited to walk. They are upset about not being invited to walk with him. Do you think they will not create hassles in running the country? And my final point in this is, we are finally a country to contend with at the global table. Whether it's the global table of muscularity, whether it's the global table of economics, whatever. Why do we want to fritter it away? These people are not serious people. I'm not saying Modi is the next best thing after sliced bread, but you have to ask yourself a question. If you were in a dark alley and you had one leader to trust who would take you out of the abyss or out of the morasses of degradation and deprivation, I would put my hand on Modi. I would not put my hand on an alliance. And I will leave you with one lasting thought. Priya said there are no statues of committees in any parks. Parks have statues of individuals. These Johnnies will run the government and will run India through committees. Did they not do that through the NAC, which Sonia Gandhi famously chaired, at which I said also, wo bhi unique din the. Manmohan Gandhi was in office but not in power. Sonia Gandhi was in power but not in office. So do you want to return to those days of extreme glory, abysmal crony capitalism, and total nepotism?
I won't write off UPA 1 in so many words also.
Sure. But I'm only writing them off in relation to where India is today. Do we want to fritter it all away? And I've said there are 2 warning signs, the divisiveness and this whole ban this, ban that. So I'm not saying that everything is hunky-dory with these guys either. But sometimes you have to make a choice. What is your considered choice? What do these Johnnies stand for? They stand for nothing. Arvind Kejriwal, you want to trust Arvind Kejriwal? I wouldn't trust him to be a bus conductor of a bus that was going nowhere. Even a static bus, I wouldn't want him as a bus conductor.
That's vintage Suhel back in action. Rashid, you wanted to come in?
No, very quickly. I think Mr. Suhel Seth is sounding as a person who has invested 10 crores in stock and wants to make,
Achha, by the way, let me tell you, Rashid, I own, I don't even have a
I'm saying you're sounding like,
मेरा सारा पैसा फिक्स डिपॉजिट में है बॉस। और हर आदमी जब देश के बारे में बात करते हैं ना, ये नहीं कि उसके पास पैसा इन्वेस्ट होता है। ये जो कांग्रेस की सोच है, ये आप सोच छोड़ दो। कभी कभी लोग देश प्रेमी भी होते हैं, सिर्फ स्टॉक प्रेमी नहीं। आपकी कांग्रेस में लोग साला स्टॉक प्रेमी थे। राहुल गांधी इतना गरीब था कि वो हर म्यूचुअल फंड में इन्वेस्ट कर रहा है, उसकी तो आपने बात नहीं की। तो जब अपने घर के हो ना, पत्थर कम ही फेंको।
The point I'm making, Priya, that if a coalition government comes in, the 4 people you're talking about, Rahul, M.K. Stalin, Mamta Banerjee, Arvind Kejriwal, Akhilesh Yadav, they will happily come in a photo frame. Not like, one leader, one frame. There is nobody from his own party.
Okay.
अच्छा ही है। अरे एक फ्रेम में एक ही आदमी होना चाहिए। रशीद किदवाई is Rashid Kidwai.
Who you see that about economy management, what it was like in the past. I think it's a work in progress. There is no great thing that Mr. Modi has done but not done before. Of course, there are a lot of economy is doing well, but that's also a lot to do with the free enterprise that Manmohan Singh and P.V. Narasimha Rao and Rajiv Gandhi
had brought in, exactly,
had created.
Absolutely, we are all in favor. Manmohan Singh will go down as a legendary prime minister. Please don't take it amiss. But my friend, history is a country with no citizens. कितना आप ढिंडोरा पीटते जाओगे मनमोहन सिंह का? आप भूल गए हो कि आपके प्रेमी चाहते राहुल गांधी ने कैसे ऑर्डिनेंस फाड़ी थी जब मनमोहन सिंह वाज टेकिंग स्टेप्स टू द ओवल ऑफिस? वो दिन भूल गए हो आप? भाई थोड़ी याददाश्त फ्रेश रखो। आप ही के चाहता ने हमारे सिटिंग प्राइम मिनिस्टर को इंसल्ट किया था जब वो व्हाइट हाउस जा रहे थे। वो दिन भूल गए हो?
Okay, let me get Shankkar in. Personally, I would maybe not want a weak prime minister, but I also want a government that is in moves like demonetization. So not a prime minister who cannot be called out by his own government. That's also a danger. So, Shankkar, what is the best fit?
Well, there is no empirical model for this. I mean, the issue is that between 2004 and 2009, India was the fastest growing economy for 3 years. I mean, now it's disputed and data can be tortured any which way you want. But the fact is that there is merit in consultative process, but there is also a need for establishing authority. You can't have a government where authority is sort of dissipated. So the issues of the economy, we have known for 30 years of economic data shows that coalitions have delivered reforms. But I also asked, my first book was Accidental India, which is that every change in India comes in the wake of a crisis. So did the reforms come as a result of coalition consensus, or was it things that had to be resolved? Those are the questions. Now, having said that, the issue is that how do you sort of steer the economy? How do you deal with the challenges? Which is what brings me back to the narrative of the election, that the narrative of the election should have been focused more on how do you deal with what's ahead. And the merits of your past performance can be sort of be the boxes or the sidebars in the narrative. What has happened is that the history, I mean, the BJP is a perpetually revisionist mode, and they want to rewrite the history. They want to do all kinds of changes because there is an aspect of their psychosis which says that the history was misrepresented. Fine, fair enough, whatever it is. But the economic history is on data. I mean, so you can look at what reforms, who brought on, whether Aadhaar came when, NCPI, UPI, when did it come? All of those are issues. I think the need really is for a process of consultation between states and the center, between segments of society, between the government and the citizen, and there should be a kind of pathway for a person or a society or a sector or a state to approach someone and say, okay, I don't like this. This is not working for me. I think this is unfair. So that room has been squeezed out of shape in this, what I call the decisive government. And I worry about decisive governments beyond a point because we know where decisiveness can take us in the long run.
Why don't you make this into a 45-minute program?
Okay. On that note, thank you all. Sorry?
Why don't you make this into a 45-minute program? Because it's going very well.
It is, yeah. But we can put it on YouTube 45 minutes. On air, it will be half an hour.
So my whole thing, just to take off from what Rasheed and Shankkar, I am not a great BJP acolyte at all. Okay. I think where they have gone wrong to my mind is this fomenting of ye nahi khao, wo nahi pehno, all those issues. Look at what has happened in terms of soft power. Now, there is an agenda driven, and those are my pals, so I know exactly what they feel, whether it's the FT, the economist, blah, blah, blah. Today, which you and I don't know, the Indian Architect, Art and Design Biennale, which was held at the Red Fort, how many visitors did it have? 9.5 lakh. It was over 100 odd days. How many visitors did the Venice Biennale have? Over 190 days, 6 lakhs. The reason why I'm telling you is Narendra Modi, whether you like it or not, has done tons of stuff in the soft power area. Today, a Puneet Dalmia, who's no relation of mine or Modi's or anyone's, and corporates like that are doing stuff that was unimaginable, whether it's in restoration or whatever. So, kaam to ho hi raha hai. Now, the problem with the BJP is they are terrible at marketing any good thing that they do, and the Congress is brilliant at marketing their failures because they've got a brilliant spokespeople like Rasheed.
I think just because he writes on the Congress,
let him go on. I'll respond to it.
Rasheed is a brilliant person at articulation. When I grow up, I want to speak. I want to be able to be an orator of his standing. So look at Rashid. He is able to spin every narrative. पर काम भी तो हुआ है भैया, आप जो भी बोल दो. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा सब मोदी जी की वजह से हुआ है. As Shankkar Aiyar very rightly said, the credit for this must be shared by most prime minister, including who I admire, Jawaharlal Nehru. I think Jawaharlal Nehru is and will always be remembered as the liberal prime minister that India loved, India had, and India will always treasure. But that doesn't mean because you love Nehru, you must hate Modi. Because you hate Modi, you must love Sardar Patel. This hatred comparison must also be dropped. Making dead people fight must also stop. These are my limited views. Boliye Rashid.
So, Priya, in that powerful, presentation that Mr. Suhel Seth is making, facts have become a casualty consistently. The fact that Rahul Gandhi did not tear that ordinance in the press conference, a lot of journalists were there. There is no footage. I challenge Mr. Suhel Seth to produce that Rahul Gandhi
Priya Sehgal was there. Ask Priya.
At the Press Club of India in the presence of Ajay Makan. It didn't happen there. The tearing shot is of something else where he is tearing, another
Some other paper he tore.
another paper. So
What was he tearing up? What was he? Birth certificate?
No. And
What is he
Rahul
tearing?
Gandhi, by no stretch of imagination, as of today, is a prime ministerial candidate. Just as I am, by no stretch of imagination, I am speaking on behalf of Congress Party. So that's what I'm saying. Facts behind all this, powerful and a very, I would say, appealing, arresting presentation, whereas the facts are consistently, becoming a casualty.
Okay, so Rahul Gandhi didn't tear the ordinance.
He gives a lot of anecdotal account. I was talking to this economist. That's true. But I'm saying that Congress knows art of business, and they've done it. They've done it, and there is nobody who has a legal money of 100 crores or more would not value, would not recognize, would not acknowledge, a Congress contribution, or would not have, kind of any hesitation in having a, future relationship. So the coalition governments are there. It is for people to decide. If people decide to give a mandate of 300 plus,
I agree. In fact,
that's fine. But my fear is that, Modi, brand Modi, cult of Modi, if incumbent prime minister fails to get 272, then he should not, ethically, morally, politically, should not make a bid. I think that there will be a very intense bid for that.
that I'm not sure, Rashid, because I think people will, his
कौन
own party
छोड़ता है
will.
रशीद जी? कौन छोड़ता है? सत्ता को
Look,
कौन छोड़ता है?
Look, here is
अब
the answer.
आपके जैसे एक दो ही हैं हमारे देश में
मैंने नहीं, राजीव गांधी ने छोड़ा था।
लोग हैं, बोलते हैं कि
191
हमें
सीट
कुछ
आया
नहीं चाहिए, स्वार्थ नहीं। पर
राजीव
रशीद
गांधी ने
किडवाई
छोड़ा
तो
था।
एक ही रशीद किडवाई है ना हमारे देश
was the
में.
single largest
Acha,
party.
this is
See, now I'm praising him. I'm very fond and scared of Rashid ji, because if the Congress comes and if there are any reprisals, he's the only person who can save all of us
You
collectively.
should fear Arvind Kejriwal, actually.
I don't fear him at
Actually,
all.
Made him a bus conductor.
He's insane.
I know you should fear Arvind Kejriwal. He's right. But Shankkar, bring some this thing. I was going to say sanity into the conversation, but the fact is, the bench. In a way, Rashid has a point. Congress is known for the governance bench strength. The BJP still hasn't been able to deliver on the optics. There's only one man who's really governing. What about the rest of the people? Maybe he's gotten these exports from the Congress who will at least look good on this cabinet shelf.
I mean, there are 2 points to this. I'm not sure whether anybody in the BJP is willing to let go of Mr. Modi, even if he gets, say, less than 270 or 60. There will be a longer queue at Lok Kalyan Marg than at the Ayodhya temple, genuflecting before Mr. Modi to continue. At some level, though, at around maybe 230, 220, the internal dynamics of the BJP and the ambitions of the wannabe successors will sort of play out. I don't buy this theory that less than majority makes for a weaker or stronger prime minister. I mean, Mr. Modi, I doubt whether he will be different at 272 or 330 or 350 or 400. He is going to be Modi. So the question that we have to look at is that how do we steer the country with a more consensual, consultative process? And so the first thing that I would like is the restoration of the standing committees of parliament to sort of examine bills. Bills can't be passed in 3 minutes, 2 minutes, bulldozed and all. And this phraseology that we will bulldoze through every opposition is not good for democracy in the long run. I admit that execution matters, and the BJP government has executed several projects much more efficiently than but that is because they have consulted the experts. I mean, the creation of the Gati Shakti and all the technology. I mean, rural electrification, the single most underappreciated reform in the last 10 years is rural
Exactly.
electrification. But that part of the story, and even the BJP struggles to sort of articulate because it's not sexy enough. I mean,
Correct.
it's much more sexy to talk about other things. So I think the processes have to be restored. I think
Yes.
the thing that BJP suffers from is a kind of, that everybody is against them kind of paranoia. I know Andy Grove said that only the paranoid survive, but you
Survive.
don't need to be paranoid all the time. I think so in the first term, Mr. Modi had this theme for states and center, competitive cooperation. He had the concept of Team
Cooperative
India.
federalism. Competitive
So that
cooperative federalism.
so the Team India concept has been sort of brushed away. Some of the ideas were good; they couldn't be. So if they had a more consensual, more consultative process, even within the party, the bench strength is all about why the Congress has a better bench strength, because there is conversation. Why the BJP, it seems like, has a poorer bench strength is, I don't know whether there is a conversation. And if I mean, frankly, the younger you are, the better equipped you are to understand technology, to understand new processes and all. But that's not always a given.
Okay. So I'm going to close now with last words, Suhel. At the end of the day, at least we've got the conversation where you wanted. We're talking, but processes. You were speaking against committees, but I agree with Shankkar. There is a process. At least there are reasons why some processes should be upheld. So, are you a little worried as to what kind of government will come back? Or are you happy with more of the same?
Let me tell you, Shankkar Aiyar very rightly said that there are some of the things that this government has done. G20 was a remarkable success, whether you like it or not. The B20, which was an offshoot of the G20, again a remarkable success. I was there when global business leaders were in India live addressing issues qua India's economy. I'm not saying कि गांधी's के time नहीं हुआ, उनके भी time हुआ, but this is not about उनका time better था, इसका time better था. We are talking about today. My belief is not about process. There's an old saying, with forms of government let fools contest. That which is governed best is best. A process is always brilliant in hindsight, never in foresight, because it hasn't been tested. The problem, the advantage with Modi is he has been a 3-time chief minister, now a 2-time prime minister. He understands kiske daire mein kya dalna chahiye and who will deliver. This government was also actually the only government which allowed people from the private sector to come directly into the government. Why? Because they needed talent. Your one point is critical, and I totally agree. Many years ago, 2 years ago, I launched Kapil Sibal's book at Taj. वो presidential elections चल रहे थे Congress के. When you sat in the hall and you saw the Chidambaram, the Shashi Tharoors, the all these, Kapil Sibal, of course, all these guys, you began saying, look at their bench strength compared to the BJP bench strength. Right. But remember, the Congress was founded by A.O. Hume. Their experience, their talent draw is also that much more significant. But if the Congress was such a great party, where is Kapil Sibal today? Where are all these guys? So that's a debate for the Congress to have. My only belief is I am a votary for India and I'm a votary for Indianness. I believe that this Prime Minister will serve India and Indians the best in the current milieu of the political landscape. I'm not an expert. I don't know kal ko kya hoga. India has never predicted a future Prime Minister other than Nehru. After Modi, God knows, it may be Rashid, it may be Shankkar, it may be you. Who knows? पर अभी के लिए मोदी जी ही ठीक हैं. जो आप चाहते हैं वो करेंगे, और जो आप नहीं भी चाहते वो भी करेंगे, as long as it's good for India.
Rashid, do you want to come in on this, as to the final scenario? If, there is an argument that a weaker Modi may be the best combination,
So, Priya, I am more concerned if Mr.
even
Modi,
with the,
people of-
a coalition of the India, is what people are opting for. Even the BJP would prefer that. Rashid.
So there are a lot of calculations are going on in Delhi power corridors, etc. But I think elections are going on. Let the people decide. If people decide overwhelmingly in favor of Mr. Modi and BJP, it should be welcomed, and I think that will do a lot of good to the country. I would say that. But if they don't, if the BJP is short, then ये जोर जबरदस्ती धक्का मुक्की खरीद फरोख्त, this should not happen.
भाई
That
वो
is-
तो आपसे ही सीखे हैं सर. इंदिरा गांधी जी
राधे-
ने सब सिखाया था. आया राम
उसका
गया
अंजाम क्या
राम.
हुआ?
ये तो कांग्रेस की देन
अंजाम
है
क्या हुआ?
इंडियन पॉलिटिक्स
गीता
को.
सिंह जी ने अपनी कृपान अंदर नहीं रखी थी, उसका अंजाम क्या हुआ?
अरे सर, इंदिरा गांधी जी ने तो सिखाया था आया राम गया राम. कामराज जी के द्वारा तो आपने पार्टी
Did
तोड़ी
it cover
थी.
इंदिरा गांधी in any glory? So I am just saying, ये लम्हों ने खता की, सदियों ने सजा पाई.
सही बोले. Shankar, your final take.
I think we should wait for the people to speak up, and then whatever happens, whatever is the math, the arithmetic, the chemistry, all of that needs to be assessed. I think people should sit back and discuss what is best for the country and do it. I think the tendency is to conceive a solution before the problem occurs is a dangerous one.
On that note, but thank you all for this conversation, and hope to get you all back again soon for more such this thing. The election is right near its end, so I'm sure we'll see the rhetoric getting heated up also. Thank you.